Welcome to the Natural Super Kids podcast, where you will discover practical strategies to inspire you to boost the health and nutrition of your kids. I'm Jessica Donovan, a qualified naturopath specialising in kids' health, and I want to make it as easy as possible for you to raise healthy and happy kids. Let's get into it. Hello. Welcome back to the Natural Super Kids podcast. I'm recording this halfway through 2025. I cannot believe we are halfway through the year. And here in the Southern Hemisphere in Australia, we are heading into the colder months. It's definitely feeling much crisper and cooler here in South Australia. And with winter and the cooler weather comes the infections, the colds, the coughs, the fevers, and all of those fun things that come with winter. But I want to let you know that winter does not have to be full of sickness. And I am starting today with this podcast episode, a series to help your kids stay well through the winter and to empower you to know what to do if and when they do get sick, because it's inevitable, right? We know our kids' immune systems are still developing, which makes them more vulnerable to sickness than us adults. It's just part of being a parent, the sickness. But we want to try and minimize how many times our kids get sick, and we also want to reduce the severity of sickness when they get it. And naturopathy has so much to offer in this space. So this first episode is 5 immune boosting food hacks to help your kids dodge the winter bugs. Now, as I'm recording this, we're still in autumn. We're at the very, very end of autumn. And one of the things that I like to say is that healthy winter immune systems are built in autumn. Also, that can refer to built in early winter. So the earlier we get onto this stuff, the better. Prevention is better than cure. That is something that we talk a lot about in naturopathy. And so the tips that I'm going to share today, they're going to be practical. They're going to be specific. You're going to leave this episode inspired to make some changes in the kitchen to the food that you are feeding your kids to boost their immune system, strengthen their immune system. So this episode is going to be full of simple, science-backed ways to boost your child's immunity using everyday foods, no fancy ingredients, and no overwhelm. Many of the things that we're going to be talking about will be in your kitchen already. Otherwise, they're very easy to access. So we want to give your kids the best chance of staying well. And one of the most powerful ways to support our kids' immune systems and our own immune systems, this information is very relevant to us adults as well, is through food. Nutrients power the immune system. The immune system is very complex. It includes many different types of cells, but they all rely on nutrients to power them. So I'm going to be sharing my 5 practical nutrient-focused hacks that you can use immediately to boost and strengthen your kids' immune systems. So let's get started. Number 1 is let garlic sit before cooking. So garlic is a powerful immune booster. It's got antimicrobial properties. And if you're into food as medicine, you'll know a lot of immune tonics and, immune remedies that you can make yourself will include some garlic in them. But there's something that you can do, which is letting garlic sit before adding it to your cooking that can make all the difference. So let me explain. If you chop or crush garlic and then let it sit for about 10 minutes, a little bit shorter is fine as well. It promotes an enzyme called allicin, which is a powerful compound with antimicrobial properties within the garlic. What it also does, this enzyme, is it helps the garlic and the compounds within garlic that are beneficial to the immune system become more heat resistant, because cooking garlic destroys a lot of the beneficial properties. But raw garlic is quite a strong taste, and a lot of kids aren't going to want to eat raw garlic. So we always want to try and include or add at least some of the garlic or some extra garlic towards the end of the cooking. You know, traditionally we're adding garlic and onion and things at the start to form that base and to form that flavor. That's fine to do, because that is, something that is going to make our dish much more flavorful. But we can also add some extra garlic, and especially garlic that has been left to sit towards the end of the cooking, process as well. So when you are going to cook a meal, start with chopping or crushing the garlic, then let it sit while you're doing everything else, so it's not going to take you any extra time. And even if you're adding garlic in at the start of cooking of a dish, it's still going to have those extra heat resistant properties that are going to help with the immune boosting, properties of garlic. So let your garlic sit before cooking, an easy, simple one that doesn't require any extra ingredients than you already have. Let's move on to hack 2. Hack 2 is to switch up your milk. So we're talking about dairy-based milk here. This one's probably not for you if you are, dairy-free, or your children are dairy-free for whatever reason. But you might want to listen to this anyway. So my hack here is to switch your regular milk to an A2 milk. So A2 milk contains only the A2 beta-casein protein. So within milk is protein. And when we're talking about A1 or A2, we're talking about the type of protein in that particular milk. Now, you would have heard of A2 milk. It's become quite popular. There's a brand called A2. A lot of their promotion and marketing is around it being, more gentle on the tummy. And that is for good reason, because the A2 protein, which is found in some types of milk, I'm going to explain more in a moment, is reduces inflammation. So it can definitely be gentler on the tummy. And the other thing is it can benefit immune and gut health due to its potential to support a healthy gut microbiome. So we're specifically talking about A2 milk or A2 dairy. So research suggests that A2 milk may have a positive impact on immune system function and the potential to reduce inflammation. And the way I like to talk about it is it's less inflammatory than A1 milk. A lot of people that have issues with dairy, and we're not talking about full-blown dairy allergy here, we're talking about intolerances and sensitivities. Often when they move to an A2 milk, they're fine with that. It doesn't cause the same issues. And there's a lot of people that don't even know that dairy is causing an issue. And by moving to A2 milk, you can see a real reduction in symptoms. Now, A2 milk is found in obviously the A2 brand, which we do have in Australia. You can find that pretty readily in supermarkets, but you don't have to go for that particular brand to switch to an A2 milk. My preference is to move to a smaller producer, a smaller, more local producer that does a Jersey milk or a Guernsey milk. So these are types of cows, Jersey or Guernsey, and that they produce this A2 protein milk, as opposed to a lot of other sort of commercial milks which produce the A1 protein milk. So have a look around at your local farmers market or in your local areas, like local whole food stores, sometimes even local supermarkets. Here in South Australia, we have Fluorio milk, which has a 100% Jersey milk, which is A2. It doesn't say a big A2 on the front, but we know that it's A2 if it's come from a Jersey cow or a Guernsey cow. And so you'll be able to see that somewhere on the label or talk to the supplier to make sure that it is 100% from a Jersey or Guernsey milk. And I want to say this is especially helpful for kids who are prone to recurrent infections such as croup, ear infections, or kids that have asthma, kids that have enlarged tonsils and adenoids, and it can also be beneficial for eczema as well. And these are all very inflammatory conditions. So, enlarged tonsils and adenoids, there's a lot of inflammation. Eczema, there's a lot of inflammation. So it makes sense to move to a less inflammatory milk to reduce that inflammation. And as I said, the research suggests that A2 milk actually has the potential to reduce inflammation. It's not just less inflammatory than A1 dairy protein. So this is a bit to get your head around, but hopefully that makes sense. So the gist of it is switch up the milk you buy to a local Jersey or Guernsey. One thing I haven't mentioned is that sheep's milk or yogurt or cheese and goat's milk, yogurt or cheese is A2 protein as well. So it could be a sheep's or a goat's milk. And also think about switching up or playing around or experimenting with sheep's yogurt or cheese and goat's yogurt or cheese to make this switch even more impactful. This is, again, especially important or you want to take extra note of this if your child is prone to those recurrent infections, the croup, the ear infections, or they have enlarged tonsils and adenoids, or they have asthma. That is my hack 2. Switch the milk to an A2 casein protein milk. All right, let's move on to hack 3, which is something additional you can add to the meals that you're making. Now, don't switch off for this because as soon as I mention this word, you might go, ugh. It's to add liver or liver powder into your child's diet. And as I said, don't switch off. Don't think, yeah, right, my kid's never going to eat liver, because my kid's never going to eat liver either, but they do because I add it into things. So let me explain a little bit more about why liver. And we'll talk a bit more about the difference between beef liver and chicken liver, which are the most commonly and easily accessible livers, are both fantastic source of iron, of zinc, of vitamin A. And these nutrients are all very important in powering the immune system in different ways. So iron helps to oxygenate immune cells. Zinc helps white blood cells fight infection. And vitamin A plays a crucial role in maintaining the integrity of epithelial tissue, found in our airways, in our lungs, in our mucous membranes, through our whole ear, nose, throat area. So keeping those strong is obviously important through the winter time. And vitamin A also influences and supports the development and function of immune cells. So all really important, and liver is a great source of all of these nutrients. Now, on this topic, I also want to just say that iron deficiency, which is really common in children, can really have a detrimental effect on immunity. So if a child's iron levels are low, also if their zinc or vitamin A levels are low as well, it leads to lower immune resilience and more frequent infections. So by adding liver or liver powder, which I'll talk more about in a moment, into the diet, you can help to keep these crucial immune supportive nutrients really nice and high. So, like I said, I wanted to talk a bit about the difference between beef and chicken liver. So both are great options. There are some slight differences. So beef is higher than chicken liver in vitamin A and zinc, and What a lot of people don't realize is that chicken liver is actually higher in iron than beef liver. So if you know your child struggles with iron or has an iron deficiency, and that's the primary reason you want to get more like some liver into their diet, then chicken liver is going to be a better option. Both chicken liver and beef liver have great levels of iron, zinc, and vitamin A. So here's a couple of things that you can do. Now, I'm a little grossed out by liver as well, like raw liver. I'm not going to eat a piece of liver fried up. Like it brings back memories of my nana cooking up, liver and steak and kidney pie, and me, sitting down and being not forced, but very strongly encouraged to make sure I eat it all, and just didn't like it. But you can make something like a chicken liver pate, which some kids will like, some kids won't. But the other thing you can do is you can freeze fresh liver. So you can source some chicken livers or some beef liver, and you can freeze it, and then you can grate it frozen into mince dishes such as spaghetti bolognese or taco mince or shepherd's pie, and just do a little bit, and no one will even know that it's in there. The other thing you can do if you want to have an even easier option is to buy a beef liver powder, a good quality beef liver powder. I like Chief Nutrition or Ancestral Nutrition or Cell Squared. They're all really good brands. And you can just sprinkle some beef liver powder into, again, spaghetti bolognese. These are things I regularly added into taco mince, shepherd's pie, cottage pie. And as long as you don't go overboard, no one will even know that it's in there. And it's a great way to, boost those all important nutrients, iron, zinc, and vitamin A. Really important for immunity, but also really important for, a lot of other things as well. Really important for skin health and for hormone balance. These things can be helpful through, puberty and supporting acne and things like that. So great for teenagers as well, which, as you may know, I have kids in that sort of age bracket. Okay, let's move on to hack number 4. Add immune boosting herbs to your everyday meals. Now, herbs are fantastic to add into our meals. And when we're talking about immune boosting herbs specifically, thyme is fantastic, sage, oregano, and rosemary. They're the sort of 4 great ones for immunity. They're rich in antimicrobial compounds and antiviral compounds. They're rich in antioxidants, which help to boost and support immunity as well. So sprinkles of herbs, whether they're fresh or dried, into your meals is a great way to add flavour to your meals, but also to, add those immune boosting properties as well. So you can add those into sauces and soups, roasted veggies. When we're talking about thyme, I love thyme with chicken. Stuffing your roast chicken with thyme, and then once it's cooked, making sure you're sort of pulling that thyme off and sprinkling it over the meat so it's directly going in. So such good ways to flavour your meals, but also to give your meals that food as medicine little kick. Another tip here, I love to plant and grow these herbs through the winter, particularly thyme, oregano, and sage. If you're a Natural Super Kids Club member, you may know that we have some great recipes in the club for like a thyme cough mixture you can make at home, or a sage sore throat remedy that you can make at home. And so if you've got these herbs in your garden and someone gets a cough, you can have this little medicinal herbal garden, even if it's just a couple of pots that you can go to. It reduces you needing to go to the pharmacy so often, or, to doctor's appointments as often, because if you can get in quick with these herbal DIY remedies that you can make at home, they can be, super powerful in fighting the infection that's causing whatever's going on for your child, whether it's a cough or a sore throat. So get those immune boosting herbs into your kids' diets and get them into the garden so you've got them on hand to make remedies with for the winter as well. Hack number 5 is to include probiotic-rich foods for a healthy gut and for a healthy immune system. So around 70 to 80% of our immune system lives in the gut. And so when the gut is healthy and happy, the immune system is healthy and happy. And we can support gut health and immune health with fermented foods, things like yogurt, sauerkraut, kefir. And I want to make a special mention of miso here as well. So whatever fermented foods you can get into your kids, it's fantastic. But let's up those fermented foods. I like to put a jar of sauerkraut in the middle of the table. It goes really well with like a shepherd's pie or, really yummy with casseroles and stews. Slow cooked like ossobuco or beef brisket, like some sauerkraut on the side of those sorts of meals goes really well. And you can, encourage your kids to start trying it, try some different combinations. You can make them yourself or you can purchase them from, farmers markets or small local suppliers are best. So play around with those, sauerkrauts and fermented veggies. But miso is another one that often gets forgotten as a fermented food. And I know my kids really enjoy a miso soup. It's really, that really earthy flavor. And it's a great one, when they get home from school in the middle of winter and they're cold, rather than a hot chocolate, like a cup of miso soup, you're getting those probiotic benefits. You can also use miso in stir-fry sauces and salad dressings, like a nice warm roasted veggie salad with a miso dressing drizzled over the top. Delicious. And a little note with miso, obviously, like heat can kill off a lot of the beneficial bacteria. So you want to add the miso again towards the end of the cooking process. You don't want to crazily boil it or overboil it. So you want to, make sure you're adding it at the end and not over cooking it. It's fine to put into obviously soup is going to be hot, but we don't want it to be like mouth burning hot. Otherwise, there's probably not going to be many of those probiotic benefits left within that miso soup. So lots of different ways you can get fermented foods in. Focus on the miso and also the fermented veg. So there you have it. 5 simple food-based hacks to help your kids and your family stay well this winter. I hope that's been super helpful for you. I would love to hear which one of these tips resonated most with you or which one you are focusing on. Send me a message on Instagram. I love to hear from our podcast listeners over on Instagram at Natural Super Kids. And we're going to be carrying on the conversation about immunity over on Instagram. So if you want more tips or to be reminded of some of these tips, we're going to be, as I said, sharing more on Instagram. So come on over and follow us, Natural Super Kids. Thanks so much for listening, and I'll be back next week with another episode. See you later. Thank you so much for joining me on the podcast today. Head on over to our website, naturalsuperkids.com, for the show notes for this episode, as well as a whole heap of inspiration to help you raise healthy and happy kids. I'll see you next week.